Warning: this video occasionally contains strong language which may be unsuitable for children, even though this is based on a children's book. However, this video is for adult idiots like me who read children's books to help me understand high school level literature better. If you're an adult idiot, keep watching. Also, please turn off this video if you are easily offended by the F-bomb and occasional sexual innuendo, because we're mature here. Hey, don't say I didn't warn you. Hello, you magical beings! Welcome back to my channel, Bohemian Magic Studios. I'm your host, Justina Carubia, and first and foremost, I really want to just apologize for my absence. I know it's been like a good 6 months since you saw a video from me on this channel. I mean, just look how long my hair has gotten. I'm like a goddess and shit. So just a brief recap on what I've been up to for the past 6 months. Holy shit, where did that time go? Well, first things off, I got engaged. We've been planning a wedding, working my ass off to pay for this wedding, so that doesn't leave me much time for my creative endeavors. I put my magazine, my music, any type of art making on hold to focus on wedding plans, cause it's stressful, but I'm getting bored. So that brings me to my reasons for creating this video. Now let me just preface this by saying, I had envisioned doing this video outside in a magical lush garden, but I'm in New Jersey, and it's still around that bipolar time of year where Mother Nature's just kind of being a bitch. So we're hanging out in my room today. Books, candles. So here's my reasons for doing this video. So due to my boredom of not being creative at all, because I'm stressed as shit, I thought I would try my hand at writing a novel. Because why not add more stress to my plate? So, being the magical being that I am, when developing my world and my characters in my novel, I've been relying heavily on a lot of imagery through dreams and tarot, and I really love using the tarot as a tool to identify different themes and archetypes within these characters. You gonna die, bitch. Sidebar, that's not really what this card means. I'm talking to you, Hollywood. And one other theme that I became particularly interested in when developing my characters were themes found in Greek mythology. However, I was one of those assholes that never paid attention in high school. Raise your hand if you're an asshole. And now fast forward 20-something years later, holy fuck, I'm old. When did this happen? Now I'm all old and intellectual and like, I think this mythology bullshit is something I could definitely get into. I'm so pretentious. Except that mythology is confusing as shit. I need to look at like a family tree or something. Trust me. I get it. You're talking to someone whose friends get pissed when they find out that I stopped watching Game of Thrones. Listen, I gave it a try. I got 2 seasons in before my brain exploded. That's pretty far. Not really. But Justina, it's so good! You don't know it! Oh my god, you don't know what you're missing! And I'm like, bitch, please! There are like 50 million characters and 50 million plots and subplots. I just can't keep up. You're talking to someone who can't even remember her own one brother's name. That was a joke. I know my fucking brother's name. His name is... shit. So if you're a dumbass like me, who gets confused very easily about different subplots and characters and who's connected to who, but still interested in learning mythology, no fear. I'm about to school the shit out of you using a book written for a 5-year-old. So here we go. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, or tea if you're pretentious like me, and enjoy watching me royally fuck up these stupid ass names, and possibly fake a horrible accent or two. And if you like this video, please be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. Please be sure to let me know in the comments if you'd like me to continue this series. There's about 19 other stories in this juvenile-ass book to rattle your brain. So without further ado, here's our very first story. Story 1. Proserpina and Pluto. And while we're at it, let's put the name fuck up counter on the board. She's grabbing her wrists, and this looks like the beginning of an abusive relationship. So Proserpina. Pluto was god of Erebus, the world that lies beneath the ground. In his realm, all was dark, misty, and gloomy. There was no sunshine there, nor any light except the glow of fires. Mysterious. Instead of blue sky overhead, he had only a roof of damp and dripping earth. There was no gay-colored flowers in the kingdom. What color is gay? Nor tall branching trees, nor green grass. In some places the dripping water was mingled with rust-colored lime from the earth, and hardened into all sorts of shapes. It made columns and arches and mounds, or hung like icicles in long, thin pendants from the roofs of Pluto's many caverns. There were black marble rocks and erebus, and deep, dark lakes. It would have been a dreary place for an earth child, but Pluto thought his kingdom was the most beautiful in all the world. He thought his caves hung with lime crystals far lovelier than forests of birch trees. He liked the noiseless peace of the dim caverns. No songs of birds, no rustle of wind among the trees disturbed their quiet. To drive away the dampness in the caves, Pluto lit many fires. This guy sounds like a pyro. Their flickering flames made the lime crystals sparkle and glimmer on the dark waters of the lakes. These fires were silent, too. They never crackled cheerfully as earth fires do. The god of this strange, quiet land was content to stay in his own kingdom and seldom journeyed to the earth. But once Jupiter imprisoned 4 great giants in a cavern in Mount Etna. In their anger, the giants stamped their feet and shook the earth, raging back and forth and beating on the walls of their prison, or heaving their mighty shoulders against the sides of the cavern until the mountain trembled. Far off in his kingdom, under the ground, Pluto heard these strange rumblings and feared that from the shock, the surface of the earth might crack and the light of day break through. So mounting his chariot drawn by 4 black horses, he journeyed swiftly up the earth and rode here and there to see how much damage had been done by the angry giants. He found temples overturned, trees uprooted, and rocks thrown as though some great earthquake had shaken the land. But no cracks deep enough to disturb the gloom of Erebus. Pluto was preparing to return home, for the light of the sun was painful to his eyes. He did not like the strange perfume of the earth flowers, nor the sound of the wind in the trees. But Cupid, that mischievous god of love, had other plans for Pluto. He drew his bow, wound in the god of darkness with one of those arrows, which caused the wounded one to love the first person he meets. How romantic. Pluto had just grasped the reins of his 4 black horses to turn them homeward when he saw Proserpina, daughter of Ceres. Ceres? Am I saying that right? With half a dozen nymphs, dancing across the valley. Proserpina's hair floated behind her, bright as flame of golden fire, and her eyes were as black as Pluto's lakes. She came nearer, gathering flowers and twining them into garlands. The god of the Dark Kingdom stepped from his chariot and left it hidden among the trees. This is long as shit. These fires were silent too. They never crackled cheerfully as... Oh wait, his cloak, we skipped that part, okay. His cloak waved about him in many points and folds, thin and fluttering like a garment of smoke. Little tongues of fire rose from his crown and flickered above his forehead. Proserpina and the nymphs saw him and drew back in alarm. Pluto strode toward them and seized Proserpina by the wrist. This is where it sounds like it's starting to get a little abusive. He did not woo her gently and kindly as lovers do. He said nothing at all, but lifted her in his arms and carried her off into the forest. Sounds like some Twilight shit. Stepping into his chariot, he seized the reins with one hand and held Proserpina with the other. The 4 black horses sprang forward with a bound, galloping madly away toward the river Cyane. Proserpina screamed for help. She cried to Ceres, her mother, but Pluto urged on his horses, and the chariot dashed away still faster. Mush! Mush, I say! When they reached the edge of the river Cyane, Pluto commanded the waters to open, so that he might pass, but the river nymph saw that Proserpina was being carried away and refused to help Pluto or make a pathway for him to cross. Then in anger, Pluto struck the ground with his mighty 3-pronged spear, and the earth itself opened. The horses plunged downward, and with the chariot rattling from side to side, disappeared into the darkness. Now far off, Ceres had heard Proserpina's cry as Pluto carried her away. A sharp pain shot through the mother's heart. And you're too late! And like a bird, she flew through the forests and valleys seeking Proserpina. She climbed mountains and crossed rivers, asking everyone she met for tidings of Proserpina. But neither man nor god would tell her where Pluto had carried her daughter. A long dark cloak hid Ceres' face and the brightness of her hair. No one who saw her then would have known that she was the glowing goddess of the harvest. For many days she wandered over the earth, refusing in her sorrow to taste either ambrosia or nectar. Once, as she sat on the stone, resting beside a well, the 4 daughters of Celiac, running and leaping like young gazelles, came to fill their pitchers.
Oh, let's go! This is so exciting, girls!
They saw the aged woman at the spring. Her head was bent in sorrow, and her dark mantle spoke of the morning. They touched her gently on the shoulder. Oh. and asked her why she grieved, but Ceres did not tell them, or let them know that she was a goddess. Do I gotta tell you bitches I'm a goddess? Like, can't you just see it? She let them think she was only an aged woman in trouble. When their pitchers were filled, they put their arms around Ceres and led her home. Everyone in the house of Celeus was so gentle and kind that Ceres found comfort in her sorrow. Celeus had an infant son who fell ill while Ceres rested in his home. The goddess nursed the little boy and gave him heavenly gifts, so that he grew in strength and beauty and wisdom. Celeus and his family begged the visitor to live with them always, but Ceres wandered on, still seeking for Proserpina. At last, she came to the banks of the river Cyane, but the river nymph, fearing the anger of Pluto, dared not tell Ceres where the missing Proserpina was hidden. Now it happened that, as Pluto's horse dashed down into the earth, Proserpina's girdle, loosened by her struggle to free herself, fell from the chariot and lay on the riverbank. The river nymph now took this girdle and floated it to where Ceres stood mourning at the water's edge. Ceres saw it, and now her grief was more terrible than ever. She took away her blessings from the earth and cast an evil spell on the fruits and crops. This greedy bitch, she's gonna make everyone else starve. The leaves of the trees lost their green and began to fall in clouds of yellow. The blue sky grew angry and gray, and a cold wind swept over the earth. The nymphs shivered and wrapped their thin robes around them. Everything became dry and withered, and famine and sickness and grief were over the whole earth. Then the fountain, Arethusa, spoke to Ceres and told her where Proserpina was. I came from afar, down in the earth, sang the fountain. My waters have trickled through the realms of Pluto. I have seen your daughter sitting on a big black marble throne. Get your minds out of the gutter. Queen of the spirits which wander silently between the crystal pillars and the flickering fires, and float over the lakes from which my waters rise. When Ceres heard this, she raised her arms to Jupiter and begged him to return Proserpina to the earth. Never again, she cried, will I make the corn grow or the ripening grain bend in the golden waves. Unless my daughter's restored to me, never again will I watch over this harvest, okay? The fruits of the earth shall remain withered, and man die from hunger. Jupiter feared that Ceres would do as she threatened, so he sent Mercury, the speedy messenger, to fly swiftly to Pluto and bid him release Proserpina. Proserpina! I just have to think like Pina. But if she has eaten in Erebus, even I cannot take her from Pluto, said Jupiter. When Mercury went down into the kingdom of darkness, he took Spring with him. That motherfucker. They flew over the river Styx and past Cerberus, the three-headed dog. When Cerberus, they flew over the river Styx and past Cerberus, the three-headed dog. When Cerberus, his three great jaws wide open, sprang at them, Spring loosed her mantle and shook such a shower of white petals in his face, so that he could not see. His mouths were filled with them, and they clung to the lashes of his eyes. Oh my god. This isn't talking about flowers. Some fell into the river Styx and floated on the dark water. They're like the fair queen Proserpina on her big black marble throne. Stop it, you guys, said Sharon. Who's Sharon now? The boatman? Sharon's a man. Such a dreary place to keep the daughter of Ceres, thought Mercury as they flew through the gloomy caverns and passages toward Pluto's palace. Soon Pluto began to notice a faint fragrance which reminded him of the earth world above. Someone trusted a fart. He frowned and hurried to the doors of his palace. Proserpina felt the mild warmth and followed. They saw Mercury approaching, with Spring floating at his side. Rejoice, O daughter of Ceres, said Mercury, for Jupiter bids you return to Earth, which lies brown and barren because of grief over your loss. Get over it! People are fucking cold. I'm freezing right now. Let Spring go home. Pluto frowned more fiercely than ever. She has eaten 6 seeds of pomegranate. The fates decree that whoever eats in Erebus never may leave. But only 6 little seeds, begged Proserpina. There are twice 6 months in the year. Only let me see my mother. Let me feel the warmth, sunshine, and soft winds and gather flowers again, and I will come back to you. Pluto had grown to love Proserpina dearly. He could not bear to lose her forever, yet he wished her to be happy. He agreed to let her go back to her mother for 6 months of the year, but the other 6 she promised to spend with him. With Spring on one side and Mercury on the other, Proserpina journeyed up to the earth where Ceres awaited her. As the ground opened to let them out, the cold winds hurried away beyond the sea. Ceres dropped her mantle of gray and laughed with joy to hold her daughter once more in her arms. The bare branches burst into bud and tiny leaves sprang from every twig. Starry white flowers sprinkled the moss, and the perfume of spring filled the forest. Mercury flew back to Mount Olympus, but Spring began her journey over the earth, star the fields with blossoms, and carry the tidings that Proserpina had come back. The end, motherfuckers! So, newsflash, this story was not based on Greek mythology. This book is actually a hybrid of Roman and Greek mythology, but the story that I just read about Proserpina actually turns out to be the Roman version of the story. Because in Greek mythology, this is actually the story of Persephone, who is actually Proserpina in the Roman version. Persephone, her father was Zeus and her mother was Demeter, and she was returned to Demeter, and she was taken to the underworld by Hades. And I believe in this book, the ruler of the underworld is Pluto. So just to clarify, that's the difference between the two. They are the same exact story, maybe some subtle differences, but yeah, the story I just read was the Roman mythology version, not the Greek mythology version, so I just learned something new. So you learn something new every day. So that's all I have for you guys today. I'm sorry if this video was too long or if I rambled at all, but if you would like me to continue this Mythology for Idiots series, just let me know in the comments below and let me know which story in mythology you would like me to cover, and whether it's Greek or Roman or Norse mythology. There's so many different kinds of mythology depending on what cultures you study. Please don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, and I'm also on Twitter at JustinaCreates. And all of my stuff is also listed in the description down below. Deuces! For more whimsical magic and fun, please visit BohemianMagicStudios.com. Hope to see you again soon.